So, just a few modifications on the sequence, and may I then ask Professor Chisti from SPA Delhi. Professor Chisti from SPA Delhi.
Well, I'm catching the bull by the horn and coming to the point. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. Nevertheless, the subject of my presentation is with a design, with a question mark, a vision for the design-based creative industries in India. Design, in its many manifestations, forms an integral part of every culture. Civilizations evolve and attain their full potential because of it. Design-based creative communities in India are witness to a fascinating churning, necessitating a search for a vision that may inform their evolution beyond, spanning education, okay, so I should go and sit there? Okay. I hope I won't yeah. Should I start all over again? Okay. Yeah. Design in its many manifestations, as I was saying, forms an integral part of every culture. Civilizations evolve and attain their full potential because of it. Design-based creative communities in India are witness to a fascinating churning, necessitating a search for a vision that may inform their evolution beyond, spanning education, profession, and the industry. All forms of design, irrespective of scale and size, emanate from a common energy, just like the way water, vapor, and ice do. To produce a pin, an alphabet, a handkerchief, a brick, or a city. This long-held belief, coincidentally, over the last decade or so, has found an echo in a milestone development in the design world at the global level. The emergence of what has now come to be referred to as creative industries is a distinct area of interest for economists, cultural specialists, and public policymakers. It reflects a growing awareness of their economic potential, their role in fostering cultural diversity, and in improving quality of life. Increasing number of governments have recognized the importance of creative industries and are developing a range of policies at the national and subnational levels. The world is changing, as it always does, predictably in a cyclic manner to accommodate periodic adjustment in cultural hegemony or dominance. The cultural shift that started with the coming of the hippies from the West to India in the 60s and the 70s had to wait for it to become noticeable till the country altered its economic policy or economic identity 20 years later. Post-liberalization, despite the fact that significant strides were made in almost all spheres of design, habitat and non-habitat related both, it hasn't necessarily altered the ground reality too much. The condition of bulk up of man-made, built and unbuilt environment in our cities, and in small towns in particular, continues to be tacky, tentative, and inhuman. Vast majority of people's lives continue to be untouched by organized design activity, no matter which form. We, the design-based creative communities in India, do not have too many choices before us today. We can continue as we are, business as usual mode, or we must take it upon ourselves to do something about it and become the catalysts to bring about the change. Change that may or may not be based on the emerging global trends as discussed earlier. Change that is visionary, path-breaking, and shows the way forward. Change that is inclusive and is able to accommodate all forms of design. Change that is quality conscious and promises a better tomorrow. Change that we may or we may not see in our lifetime. For this to materialize, ladies and gentlemen, design-based creative communities, including those of architecture, urban, landscape, interior design on one hand, product, industrial design, apparel, textile design, graphic communication design, etc., etc., need to stand together as a constituency so that they can be counted, recognized, and heard. Numbers in a democracy, we are told, make all the difference. With the hope that here and now is the right place and time, permit me to present a 7+1 point agenda as a vision for change. 1. Design-based creative communities must work towards developing a clear and a broad-based roadmap by virtue of which Indian design becomes a coherent entity of a lasting value, capable of being recognized across the globe along with other design cultures, somewhat like the way Indian cinema or Indian writing in English are. Responding to the challenge of continuity and change, and while minimizing imbalances across various design disciplines, the design communities must play a constructive role in addressing day-to-day common problems and contribute positively in the activity of nation building. Number 2, design-based creative communities will need to deal with the issue of both quality and quantity. To raise the standards of education, profession, and the industry. Barring exceptions, the quality of design education and executed design across various design disciplines continues to be substandard. The quantity story, on the other hand, suffers from an absence of worthwhile research and paucity of credible data on almost all relevant fronts. 3. Design-based creative communities need to make a concerted and conscious effort to invent a method of communication and dialogue between and across the design disciplines on one hand and with the society at large on the other. Creation of enabling platforms and agencies, both governmental and non-governmental, need to be put in place to facilitate the production of necessary shareable material for the same. Dovetailing this effort with international agencies is an imperative, as is as imperative as is the need for organized archival facility within the country. 4. Design-based creative communities must ensure, in partnership with the governmental agencies, to put in place a new and different system of checks and balances applicable to all design disciplines. This must involve innovative and flexible accreditation systems and foolproof arrangement of deterrence and penalties for malpractice in education, profession, and industry. 5. Design-based creative communities, with or without the help of governmental agencies, will have to create a multi-layered system for the promotion of design through incentives, awards, healthy design competitions, representation of design communities in policy and decision-making bodies of the nation. 6. Design-based creative communities must work hard to earn respect and recognition in the society. It is important to correct the common misconceptions, such as that architecture is another branch of engineering, or that non-habitat design disciplines are too arty-farty. The role designers play in organizing life and living, making of cultures, etc., need to be clarified and highlighted. 7. Design-based creative communities must be managed and administered whether through self or governmental regulatory systems, progressively and creatively. Professional apex bodies of different design disciplines need to be formed where none exist, and the ones that exist need to reinvent themselves. This must finally lead to formation of an umbrella, common umbrella organization that while looking at the big picture and steering the common concerns and the design, the broad vision remains equidistant from the discipline-specific apex bodies, which must then look after the details concerning education, profession, and industry. All this, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be done by working in close harmony with the government agencies, who must rise to the occasion by bringing all design-related activity, cutting across forms and scale, under one ministry. Even to suggest, as has been suggested earlier in the day, a full-fledged ministry for design, I may add, is not too far-fetched an idea. 8, and the last point, which is about the subject in hand today, in specific terms about design education. Now, design-based creative communities must ensure an overhaul of the education system. Permit me to detail this out as under. A, design as a subject or phenomena must be introduced at the primary levels in schools, if not earlier. B, design-specific education must become an integral part of the choices offered to students at the school leaving stage. C, design-related departments, schools, colleges, academies, faculties, universities, and what else you have, must be encouraged to be set up across the length and breadth of the country, wherever possible in existing setups and in entirely new ones, if so warranted, in a range of scales and sizes. In existing setups, they could be dovetailed very easily with disciplines of architecture, applied arts, and engineering. In the new setups, they can exist in subject-specific formats or as entities where all design disciplines come together under one roof. D, students admitted into the places of design learning must be drawn from diverse backgrounds from all across the country through a well-distributed network and a sensible testing pattern, preferably the single window variety. The system must encourage students from SAARC countries, Southeast Asia, West Asia, Central Asia, Africa, etc., to join this big Indian design party. E, an extra spatial drive needs to be initiated to attract good, competent, and committed faculty to the places of learning and teaching. To achieve this, the gap between the academia profession and the industry needs to be bridged by introducing innovative, attractive, and flexible contractual recruitment arrangements. Doors must be thrown open for faculty coming from all parts of the globe, north, south, east, west. F, the design education system thus put in place must produce designers and designers of various types and hues who can fit into the system in multiple roles and capacities at all levels, bottom, middle, top, as teachers, researchers, practitioners, executors, managers, facilitators, administrators, writers, commentators, critics, etc. J, an atmosphere of healthy coexistence needs to be created in the academic world where design thinking is accepted as a normal, valid, and dependable way of thinking. In this case, taking a cue from the corporate or management worlds, where creative and lateral thinking is becoming mainstream. Ladies and gentlemen, design world is a fascinating world. A little mad world, maybe, for it is able to deal with complex, conflicting, and contradictory, overlapping phenomena joyfully and beautifully, though somewhat mysteriously. A mystery, I can assure you, that can be unraveled through education, exposure, and most importantly, by doing. In the end, design, design, design की बात निराली है. इसने हर मौजू पर रोशनी डाली है. खुद को भी हमने इससे है जाना, कायनात को भी हमने इससे है छाना. जिंदगी का भी यही है ताना और बाना. डिजाइन, डिजाइन, डिजाइन की बात निराली है. That's all I have to say.